Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Thursday, February 13th, 2025. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Thursday, everyone. Here's a look at the ES in the daily time frame here following yesterday's CPI data. We had the initial drop to the downside and found a morning low that snapped the price back to the midpoint of the impulsive move and finished higher off of the lows. However, we stayed within the overall compression that continues to develop here, which is basically chopping above and below January's close. This morning we got PPI data, PPI and core PPI coming in a little hotter than expected on the PPI month over month, 0.4% versus a 0.3% estimate. Initial jobless claims coming in 213K versus a 217K estimate. And the initial reaction here was kind of a spike to the upside and a little bit of a pullback, but still inside day, still a fairly narrow range here in the early minutes after these reports came out. We could continue to see some back and forth type of price action here as yesterday's range becomes the range for basically today and into the rest of the week. Yesterday's high is going to be very important here. A push into that high, call it 6100, could be a fade back into the range. Any push down to the bottom of yesterday's range, right around 6020 or so, could be a fade back up, as this market likely stays within range here ahead of an expansion phase that could come perhaps next week. This market continues to build energy up here. You can see the compression, severe compression here toward the apex of this pattern here. A lot of buildup of energy. And to be honest here, it doesn't look particularly bullish right now. If this thing were bullish here, we may have already seen this thing kind of run to the upside. Instead, we've seen a lot of rejection and reactions of prices above 6,100 here over the last couple of few months here. I mean, really since December and into January and now into February here, this market cannot find acceptance above 6,100. And that could be about the time where any next push could be rejected again for a rotation back down within the range. So again, building energy here for a forthcoming expansion event, which could be next week here. If we take a look here at the NQ, similar price action here on the PPI data, a little bit of a pop to the upside, a correction back down, but mostly compression here. 45% of ADR on a single day basis right now, but you can see this thing's compressing on a multiple day basis. This is a 6-day compression down here, and it's just built up over the last 6 days, trading above and below the 21,800 level and compressing over the last several weeks, building energy again, kind of like the ES here, building energy and really failing to find acceptance above 22K. And even if we did see a push to the upside here, any reaction or rejection, kind of like this day or any failure to maintain acceptance up here, could swing price back down towards support. 21K has been the lower area of support and into 20,800, and that's kind of been the range here lately. So still more of the same right now. The previous session's range still will be kind of important here. If there's a failure to find acceptance above yesterday's high, we could be rotating back within the range here to the downside again as this market builds out throughout the course of the week, really. So building energy for a forthcoming expansion event, which could be again next week. If we take a look here at crude oil, this one has seen a shift of VPOC. Composite VPOC has shifted down. It was 78.50 or so. This thing shifted down to 71.60, and you can see how price has traded around that zone here over the last couple of weeks here. Just down and up, down and up, down. Do we get the next phase up? We've seen a very quick decline in price here overall. Again, right when Trump was inaugurated here, that began a period of selling pressure to the downside. You can see these sell G squats right here leading the way to the downside, and perhaps talks of ceasefire here between Russia and Ukraine, and that could be part of the reason here. Trump's drill baby drill approach could be bringing things down as well. So clearly this market right now is in a downtrend. Any pullback could become a selling opportunity, but with the VPOC shift down, there could be a range bound compression here that basically goes above and below VPOC for a little while, but with a downward bias. And so the 66-67 support zone could still be in play up ahead, but 70 in the near term could be kind of a short-term support. Maybe it finds its level down here, we bounce back up, and we could be looking at compression, but again with a downward bias, and 66-67 could still be ahead. Looking at gold futures right now, this one up 0.4%, trading 29.40 right now. I mentioned that this rejection a couple of days ago appears to be a strong high as of right now. This also appears to be a really good strong low in the current uptrend. So we're kind of stuck between two extremes here, where the current uptrend remains firmly intact, but we are seeing signs of a strong high develop here, which means, you know, the next push to the upside could be kind of a decision point for this market. If there's a rejection, perhaps a pullback toward 2800 could be seen ahead, and maybe we develop a 200-point range between 2800 and 3000. So we're getting closer and closer to our 3000 target. That's the target we had at the beginning of January here, when we were still kind of in this compression. And when we were still in this compression, you know, right around here, 2680 or so, I mentioned if this thing can break through the 2740 level, it opens up a path toward 3000 up ahead. So we've gotten very, very close, within 31.5 points, and maybe there's still one last push to get us there, but we've already seen enough expansion beyond 2800 where that 2800 to 3000 zone could become the new range for this market, but still trending up until proven otherwise. But we are starting to see signs of a strong top develop here at this time. Looking at the YM, this one right now marginally higher at the moment, just 229 points of range. We'll bring this down to a one-day reading right here, in which you'll see compressed at 41%. Inside day, now this one did bounce off the lows yesterday. It did get back to the midpoint of the day's range, and it closed right around the midpoint as well. Today, currently an inside day compression developing, and like I mentioned for the ES and the NQ here, yesterday's impulse move could contain prices throughout much of the day today in an inside day style range. Any push to the extreme could push prices back down, or down to this extreme push prices back up as price continues to build out within this compression. We are seeing a larger trading range develop here, 42K on the low here. You got 45.2 up on top, and then somewhere in the middle here, 43.6 or so is kind of that midline. And after spending enough time up here at these highs, we could see this thing rotate back toward 42K up ahead, very similar to how it played out this last time over here. And even if it does do that, it could be an opportunity to pick it back up and rotate it back to these highs. So this range clearly in play right now. A lot of compression here, bit of a rounded top developing here, inside day development here today. If we take a look at Bitcoin here, down 1%. I mentioned before, this one's at risk right now of a kind of a downside flash event. You can see here, after that strong low a couple of Mondays ago, we've basically kind of traded in a super narrow range right around the midpoint of that rejection, and that is not very bullish at all. Instead, it's kind of you could tell bulls are trying to keep this thing bid here, but they're not getting paid to the upside right now, and when that happens, there can be a loss of confidence and a long liquidation can develop. A breakthrough 95 and you're flashing downward. I mean, this thing could take us to a new low below this pivot low here, which means somewhere below 89,525. And if we did see the next flash event here, it probably marks back up toward 100K, maybe a little higher. and then we'll see another one, and this thing continues to build out, but really not seeing a whole ton of bullish evidence at the moment. And this compression right now could lead to quite a big move, and likely to the downside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Today's the 7th developing day here, and if we take this back up here to a 7-day reading, let's make that 7 days right there. You can see right here 48% compressed, and the reading here takes you to about 13,000 points of range and as much as maybe 16,000 points. So there is anywhere between 13 and 16,000 points of energy in this 7-point range right here. That could be a big time flash. 16,000 from current levels would take you down to 80 right there, right? So that's the kind of energy this thing has right now. So is it going to be to the upside, or are we seeing warning signs right now? This appears like a warning sign, which could take us down. Now, taking a look here at ETH, this one's already been disconnected, already seen quite a bit of weakness here. It also has a similar compression here, sitting right around the midpoint of that flash event here. And you can see 900 to 1100 points of range. Just call it 1,000 points built up here of movement. 1,000 points is a lot, especially if it were to go to the downside. You know, do we get down toward, you know, the 1,700 level, or is the next drop into 2,200, maybe 2,100, an opportunity to bring it back up? The next flash event could test levels around 2,100, and if you look right here, 2,100 is the 100% key range target from that compression right there. So 2,100 could be the next target here, and then try to pick it back up for a rotation back toward 3,400. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.